Welcome to this episode of Horrific History and Hauntings. I'm Beth.
And I'm Ramey. We're your hosts, here to talk about the stories that the history books ignore.
From horrific epidemics and ghostly hauntings to the catastrophes and tragic events that have sickened humanity.
Or at least disappointed them somewhat. What happened today in history, man?
First off, we're going to have the main topic as a horrific Hellscapes episode. Today in history, November 17th, 2024, the day we're recording. After a 2-year time of sexually assaulting that left at least 10 people dead, Charlene Williams and Gerald Gallego, one of America's most sadistic serial killing couples, was finally apprehended. They had an immediate connection, and Charlene moved in with Gerald within a week of meeting. Bad idea for anybody.
I found someone on the side of the river one time. Their boat had messed up, and then they ended up living with me for about half a year.
Bad idea. Gerald was the son of a man who was executed in Mississippi's gas chamber, so he had a troubled past.
Just a bit.
Yeah. By 32, he had 7 felony convictions, 5 failed marriages, and a hidden history of sexually abusing his young daughter.
This sounds like Francis Two Gun Crawley almost. He had a horrible past that just kept going down and down and down.
Yeah. I think this guy might be worse, though.
It does sound like it.
Because I don't really remember, but I don't recall
Two Gun
Crawley
being very rapey.
Yeah.
He was on the murder
He was a
spree, but-
murderer and robbery. But Charlene had 2 previous failed marriages and struggled with an addiction of hard drugs. And yes, I know marriages sounded really funny when I said that. I took a nap and I just woke up from it. You'll have to bear with me. However, shortly after Charlene moved in, Gerald brought home a teenage runaway for a threesome.
Oh, goodness. A teenage runaway.
Mm-hmm. However, he ended up becoming furious when he found out that Charlene and the teenage girl were having sex without him.
Oh, no. It just broke his heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shortly after the couple decided to find victims that Gerald could sexually assault to keep him satisfied.
This sounds horrible.
Yeah. Probably not the best move.
Cocaine.
September 1978, they abducted 2 teenage girls who they sexually assaulted, beat with a tire iron, and then shot in the head.
They're deranged.
Mm-hmm. They waited until the following June before grabbing 2 young girls in Reno, Nevada. This time, Charlene became furious at Gerald because he started raping the girls without her as she was driving the van. Then she began firing shots at him, so he quickly killed the victims. It wasn't their fault. I don't know why you're killing them.
Distraction.
In April 1980, they kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered 2 girls from a mall near Sacramento.
They seem to just find 2 girls at a time.
Yes, they do. I'm trying to figure out.
If they had guns, that's how.
Well, yeah, that probably makes sense. 2 months later, they found another victim during a vacation in Oregon. This time, they buried her alive.
Who goes to Oregon for vacation?
I've never thought of going to Oregon. It's one of those states that I probably forget because once in a while, I'll try to do like this brain thing and I'll write down the states. And I always forget a bunch of them. And I'm pretty sure Oregon's probably one of them.
I remember it because of the Oregon Trail. I'm sure there's a lot going on there, and the Oregon Department of Tourism would really be mad at me, but I can't think of anything besides the Oregon Trail when it comes to mind.
Well, let us know if there's anything interesting or fun in Oregon.
I think we've had some ghost stories out of Oregon.
Yeah, probably those. We had the States one not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was our last one.
Yeah.
In July, they kidnapped and killed a couple as they were leaving a fraternity party. Witnesses got the license plate this time.
Probably because they were pointing guns at folk.
Yes, this was when a manhunt began. The Gallegos managed to dodge authorities for a few months, but they were finally caught in Omaha, Nebraska in November. While awaiting trial, Charlene agreed to testify to save her own life, as it normally goes.
So we'll never actually get the true story of whose idea it really was. It could have been hers just as much as his.
It was definitely a team effort.
Yeah.
I say he probably was the one that came up with the idea first, though.
That's how we'll hear it, because she's the one giving the testimony.
Yeah. Have to look into that and do a full episode on this one. Gerald was tried in both Nevada and California and received the death sentence in both states.
Now, there's going to have to be a raffle or rock, paper, scissors.
Who gets to kill him? Charlene was sentenced to 16 years and 8 months in jail and then was released in July 1997. I didn't say what year they were caught. They were caught in 1980. So that was our Today in History. Back to horrific hellscapes. We are going to start with Lake Tahoe.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. It's normally celebrated for its beautiful scenery and clear waters. It's located on the California-Nevada border. However, it's beautiful location has a darker side with a long history of spooky local legends and ghosts. Why else would it be on the list?
Yeah.
One of the most famous ghost stories of Lake Tahoe is the legend of the Lady in White. Surprise, surprise.
Another one. Have we talked about this lady?
No.
There are so many ladies in white. I
Yeah.
can't keep track.
What if it's the same one and she just keeps moving from location to location? But yeah, it seems difficult to find a location that people claim to be haunted without having a deceased lady in white.
Yeah.
Perhaps us ladies should start wearing orange or green or purple. You never hear about the haunting of the lady in pumpkin orange or the lady in forest green. Legend has it that a bride-to-be was heartbroken when she was abandoned at the altar in the late 1800s. So she decided to take her own life by leaping into the lake while still wearing her wedding dress. Probably weighed her down.
Well, that would do it.
Yeah. Ever since, there have been reports of a ghostly figure in white around the lake's shores. Another legend is of the Tahoe Tessie.
I've heard of Tessie.
Yeah.
Didn't we do that in the Creatures of the States or whatever?
No, we did Chessie.
Oh, Chesapeake
The
Bay.
Chesapeake Bay one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Essies.
This is a lake monster that some believe is a dinosaur that managed to survive prehistoric times, I guess. Old dinosaur.
A relic.
Yeah. Others describe it as a serpent-like creature, much like the Loch Ness Monster. The Cal Neva Resort and Casino is rumored to be haunted by the ghost of Frank Sinatra. This is nearby the lake, by the way, obviously. He was regular in the 1960s. Some have reported seeing his spirit, unexplained noises, and the sense of being watched. There's also the Thunderbird Lodge nearby. It's a historic mansion perched on the east shore of the lake, and it's said to be haunted by the ghost of its former owner, George Whittle Jr.
I like the name.
Yeah. He was known for his lavish lifestyle and built the mansion as a private retreat in the 1930s. Visitors have reported seeing George's ghostly figure still roaming the halls and sitting in the living room. He probably paid a lot of money for this. I don't blame him for still sitting in his living room.
It is his.
Yeah. The Hellman-Erman Mansion is now within the Sugar Pine Point State Park, and it's also said to be haunted.
A lot of hauntings going around.
Yeah. The mansion was built in the early 1900s by banker I.W. Hellman. His daughter Florence died at a young age and is rumored to haunt the mansion. Visitors have reported eerie experiences such as doors moving on their own and phantom footsteps that echo through empty rooms. The last one I have for Lake Tahoe is the legend of the Donner Party.
Oh, we know what that one is. I do.
It's a group of pioneers that was stranded in the Sierra Nevada mountains during the harsh winter of 1846 to 1847. They had to resort to cannibalism to survive the harsh winter, and visitors have claimed to see their restless spirits haunting the area. Some have also reported hearing moaning and screaming near the lake, thought to be them.
I just remember the cannibal part and the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And then some Wendigo stories.
Yeah. Crater Lake is next. It's located in Oregon. It was discovered on May 22nd, 1902. It was created 8,000 years ago due to the collapse of Mount Mazama. It spans about 5 miles in diameter and plunges to a depth of 1,943 feet, making it the deepest lake in the United States.
That's just scary, especially inland. When you think about how deep that is.
Its crystal clear, deep blue waters is sourced solely from snowmelt. This is described as causing it to look otherworldly. It was formed by volcanic activity. Despite centuries of dormancy, eruptions in the distant past shaped the lake's landscape. But there are signs that the volcanic system might not be completely inactive. In 1945, an unsettling display of bluish-gray clouds resembling smoke or gas rolled over the lake from September to December. More recently, in the 80s, scientists made the discovery of hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the lake. These vents suggest that the volcano could possibly erupt again someday. And in the 90s, a series of earthquakes shook the park, which can also be a sign that the volcano is still going strong.
One of those places to avoid.
Yeah. Indigenous tribal legends say the lake acts as a portal from Earth to the underworld, and that its deep waters are inhabited by supernatural entities. They say that anyone who stares into the lake's waters for too long risks getting trapped and slowly being pulled toward their own demise. Excuse me if I get this wrong. Klamath legends describe a violent battle between the spirits Leo and Skell In this battle, Leo tore out Skell's heart, only to be dismembered in return. His scattered remains were cast into the lake's depths. It was said that monstrous beings devoured most of his body, but his severed head is believed to still linger beneath the surface. And according to this legend, disturbing his head can trigger violent storms on the lake. His spirit may materialize as well as a giant crayfish that emerges from the depths to snatch down victims. That would kind of be terrifying. Crayfish. It said lake. I'm assuming like a crawdad. A giant crawdad.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that would be scary.
I don't need that in my life.
It also has a dark history of accidental deaths, suicides, and murders. The forests around the lake have sometimes become places where lost people end up, only for their bones to be found years later. In 1947, a park visitor, Mr. Cornelius Snow, it's not actually Cornelius Snow, obviously. It's just I like the Hunger Games.
Oh.
It's Mr. Cornelius wished to end his life. His initial attempt to slide into the lake only resulted in a broken ankle. However, this didn't stop him from trying again. He then crawled into the water's edge and drowned himself with no clue as to why he did it.
It's hard to tell.
Photographer Charles McCullough visited the lake in 74, not 47. It wasn't until 1976 that rangers discovered only his pants, socks, and bone fragments. The rest of his body had vanished without a trace, and the location of his coat, shirt, and camera equipment remains unknown. I would say wild animals, but why would wild animals care about a coat, shirt, and camera equipment?
Yeah.
2 islands within Crater Lake have their own share of spooky tales. Wizard Island is named for its resemblance to a wizard's hat.
Oh.
Yeah. It is rumored to be haunted by spectral campfires. Could be worse. Numerous witnesses have reported seeing ghostly flames flicker on and around the island. Yet, after extensive investigations by Crater Lake Rangers, they found no physical evidence of fire, smoke, or even ashes.
So it just poofed.
Yep. Then there's Phantom Ship Island, which seems to vanish and reappear depending on the time of day and the angle that you are viewing it from. Another bizarre thing about Crater Lake is called the Old Man of the Lake. It's a log that's been floating upright for over a century.
Oh.
Kind of cool. It pokes out about 4 feet above the waterline, and then the remaining 30 feet stays submerged. Big log.
Yeah.
That just keeps floating. The paranormal activity at Crater Lake stretches beyond the shores. Its Crater Lake Lodge is reportedly haunted by a little girl who roams its halls, as well as a Chinese man who haunts the elevator.
Just out of the blue.
Yep. There's also a rumor of a dragon-like creature that inhabits Crater Lake. It's known as the Crater Lake Serpent. However, the woman who started this rumor was apparently not taken seriously when she attempted to warn people about it.
Well, can you blame them?
There's also been numerous UFO sightings that have been reported over the lake. One in particular occurred on February 4th, 1997, when 3 bright discs were observed speeding across the lake's surface. Then it was followed by strange lights in the sky that eventually vanished into the water.
I will believe the aliens over the other stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Rangers have reported encountering a large, dark, smelly creature in the surrounding woods. These sightings often end in the creature throwing pine cones at them when they get too close to it.
What?
I'm going to start doing that. Don't get close to me. Start tossing stuff. This has caused speculation about Bigfoot inhabiting the area. There's also other stories that have surfaced regarding Bigfoot deaths at Crater Lake.
Okay.
One involved a car accident, and another involved a train collision. Poor Bigfoot. No wonder he's throwing pine cones at y'all. You're killing his relatives. In 1944, 2 torpedo planes were flying over Crater Lake on a clear day when one vanished without a trace. No distress call was made. Later, search and rescue teams determined that the plane had crashed into the lake and sunk to the bottom, but the cause of the crash remains unknown.
No.
Back to the Old Man of the Lake, the strange log that's been floating for centuries.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's become worn over time. Obviously, it's a log in the water, and park rangers seem hesitant to mess with it because they say in the past, when they messed with the log, it has caused sudden weather changes.
That's not alarming at all.
So,
why?
Yeah, don't mess with the log, I guess. I always thought you were supposed to remove those for boats.
I would assume you should. Not everybody's going to know it's...
It's like an iceberg. You can only see the very tip, if you can see it at all, and then there's this big other part down below. The Devil's Pool, Victoria Falls, is next.
Okay.
There's a lot of devil's ones. The Devil's Pool is a naturally occurring infinity pool that is situated in Zambia. It is beside Livingstone Island on the edge of Victoria Falls. During the dry season, which is about September to December, when the Zambezi River's water levels recede, this pool emerges at the cliff of the falls. This offers a beautiful, breathtaking, yet dangerous swimming experience. A submerged rock ledge called the Devil's Armchair is the only thing that separates swimmers from the 328-foot plunge to their deaths.
Don't go there.
Big cliff. Thrill seekers like to be pushed across the pool by the powerful current, only to be stopped by the natural rock wall that narrowly keeps them from their deadly fall.
Yeah.
They will also sit on the Devil's Armchair and lean back to look over the drop. I have a fear of heights. I would never do that.
No.
Ever. You would have to come get me if I tried to do that.
Yeah.
I would freeze. I'd be like, I can't move. If I move even a single inch, I'm going to fall and I'm going to die.
I don't want to get near the heights.
Though, oddly enough, it is rare. There have been a few instances where people have slipped and fallen over the edge of the Devil's Pool to their deaths. I find it odd that that's a rare occurrence, but I guess it's a good thing that it is. You remember the last Top Gear?
Yeah.
Where they go to Zimbabwe?
Yep.
Well, I believe that it is the big waterfalls and the cliffs that is near that as well. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Zimbabwe is on one side, and then, what's that other place? Zambia is on the other. It was the last one. It made me sad.
I know that episode.
I think they should get back to work.
They got Clarkson Farm.
Yeah, but
and
not all of
James
them.
has a whole YouTube channel now, and I think so does Richard.
Yeah, Hammond had that weather thing. I don't know what else he would have. Off topic. Potomac Mallows Bay is next.
Is it Potomac or Potomac?
Potomac. The river.
Okay.
I've always heard it Potomac.
But
okay. Potomac?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mallows Bay in Maryland is home to the ghost fleet of the Potomac River. It is the largest and most diverse group of shipwrecks in the Western Hemisphere. This fleet consists of roughly 200 shipwrecks and has over 300 years of American shipbuilding history. However, the majority of these vessels date back to World War I. When the U.S. entered World War I in 1917, German U-boats were sinking merchant ships at an alarming rate. So President Wilson's administration responded by establishing the Emergency Fleet Corporation to rapidly increase ship production. This was designed to address the severe threat German U-boats presented to global shipping. Delays, shortages, and transportation challenges delayed the Emergency Fleet Corporation's efforts, and many of these shipyards were understaffed, underbuilt, and underpaid, which resulted in only 98 of the 734 ordered ships being delivered by the end of the war.
Not exactly ideal.
Yeah, that is a lot of money down the drain.
Isn't there like a graveyard for these ships somewhere on the river? I've seen.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, the old wooden and metal ships.
Yeah,
here and there.
And they kind of look like islands now.
Yeah.
And I want to go.
Yeah, I've seen that on One on Earth.
Mm-hmm. You can look it up on Google Maps for those of you that wish to do so.
There's a lot of things like that in the UK.
See it.
On the French coast and the UK coast from their old World War I and II times.
I find that so fascinating. Of the 98 ships that were delivered, only 76 were considered fit for cargo transport.
The rest are just kind of there.
All of the vessels struggled with mechanical problems and construction flaws. And none had managed to reach a European port during the war.
They had one job.
Yeah, you had one job. And all 700 some of you failed.
They literally did just have one job.
In the aftermath, the United States Shipping Board sold off the inactive and incomplete ships. The fleet, which had cost the government $300 million to build, was sold for $750,000 as scrap. The Western Marine and Salvage Company is who bought it. They bought most of them, and they estimated a profit of $10,000 in scrap per ship. They moved the wooden hulls to Mallows Bay for burning and beaching. On November 7th, 1925, 31 ships were burned.
Well, something got accomplished.
That must have been interesting to see.
That was a lot of fire.
Yeah.
It all happened on one day. Is that what it Wow. It's like the war all over again.
By 1931, the Western Marine and Salvage Company had moved 169 ships' hulls to Mallows Bay. However, the Great Depression caused a major drop in scrap prices.
Just let them set. They're used to taking them apart if they're not worth it. That's how they ended up there.
Yep, this forced the company to abandon the project, so the remaining holes were just left there for scavengers.
I remember during the recession, people were stealing scrap and taking apart people's houses while they were on vacation, everything they could do to sell scrap, and it was a big deal. And now it's still happening to catalytic converters. That people are still in those left and right.
When World War II began, the Ghost Fleet regained attention. In 1942, the federal government contracted the Bethlehem Steel Corporation to salvage any remaining metal from the wrecks. This material was transported to a facility near Baltimore to contribute to war efforts, but after the war, it again was forgotten until the 1960s. At that time, a company called Idemont Inc. purchased the land and planned to remove the remaining hulls. However, a scandal popped up when it was revealed that Idemont was actually a cover for the Potomac Electrical Power Company. They pretty much was the same company, I believe, and just used a different name to try to trick people.
Keep that government money to yourself.
Their actual intention was to construct a power generating station nearby at Sandy Point.
Why? Surely somebody will notice that in time.
I think by then that they would think it was too late. I don't know.
Oh, it's there now. Nothing to do about that.
The House Committee on Government Operations decided that removing the ships was not needed after seeing the ecosystem that had formed because of them. Since then, the Ghost Fleet has been home to plants and animals in Mallows Bay. In 2014, the state of Maryland, with Charles County's support, nominated Mallows Bay to become a National Marine Sanctuary through NOAA.
NOAA.
This would protect its historical significance, and in July 2019, Mallows Bay was named a National Marine Sanctuary. It was the first new sanctuary in 19 years, and I want to go see them.
Considering the size of Maryland, I was probably pretty close.
Well, it's 4 hours away from Mr. Whippy's in Chincoteague.
Yeah, but I was in Baltimore on our last trip.
Oh, yeah, you were probably pretty close then. I want to see the Ship Island wrecks.
It's a sanctuary.
Because they pretty much became islands at this point, most of them.
Yeah, they're part of the scenery. I can't remember how many seasons of Mysteries of the Abandoned there are, but I watched them like 12 or 13 seasons.
I tried to watch it, but the first one I was not interested in, so I kind of gave up. I need to just skip past the first one because I feel like there are some interesting things on it.
I like the old Soviet stuff.
Because I find abandoned things interesting, but the first one I just couldn't get into, so I need to skip past it. But that's all I have.
Well, that was entertaining. You never know what you're going to hear in these.
And I'm sorry for all the
mispronunciations and the stutters.
The stutters and mispronunciations. Yes, like I said, I shouldn't take naps. I'm not meant to take naps, but when I do, I completely ignore the alarms.
I don't know how that happens.
Because it was 11:30 when I took this nap. And I was like, okay, I'll get up at 1:30. I'll do the Today in History for 30 minutes or less. And then at 2, I'll go up and I'll record like normal. No, I woke up at 2:30.
I noticed.
Yeah. So that happened today.
But at least it was done.
So I apologize. I know some of the speech things irritate people, but
I don't even notice them anymore.
I mean, you've had a lifetime to learn to deal with it.
Yeah, you never know what people are going to say. But it's okay. If you like what you heard here, we're part of the Gruesome Gaming Group Podcast Network. We have 2 other podcasts. One is called Leveling Duo. It only comes out whenever one of us plays a video game we really enjoy.
Oh.
And what is it?
I finally got back on Fallout. I was like, okay, I've took a break from it for months. So I finally got back on Fallout, and I finally completed that stupid simulation.
Oh, Anchorage.
And now, after getting into the armory and all the stuff before that as well, I have made myself overweight, and now I'm just waddling my way to
across the wasteland.
I guess, because I refuse to get rid of anything.
Yeah, that stealth suit's very useful.
Yeah.
And the Gauss rifle.
Yep.
We'll talk about this on an episode of Leveling Duo. It's where me and Beth or me and my friend Dakota talk about video games. And we only come out with an episode whenever there's a new game or something that one of us hasn't played before, the others have. And this Fallout sounds like a good one. Also, we have Brother Knows Quest. It's on hiatus until after the holidays. The next Wednesday after the 1st of January, pretty much. It's a podcast about tabletop role-playing games. It's where I introduce my sister to different ones, and we'll see what she thinks about them. I think the next one's going to be Dragon Age, because the Dragon Age video game has came out that the TTRPG is based on. If you want to find any of those, there'll be a Linktree link in the description. It will take you to All of our socials, some of them are mine, some of them are Beth, some of them are the podcast, like the TikTok. It's HH&H, this podcast here. If you want to reach out to us, use any of those socials, or there's emails below the Linktree link. You can reach out that way. Let us know what you think. Give us ideas of things to cover, or tell us your own spooky stories we could share. That'd be nice. We'd like to hear from you. In the Linktree link, the first link you see is a link to our podcast website. It has all of our 3 podcasts on there. You can find them from there, or you could just Google them or look them up on your podcast app of choice. But below all those links and the Linktree and all that, it will be a link to send a tip. It'll help keep the podcast hosted because, that just comes in handy. It's something we have to pay, and we appreciate the aid. Leave a review if your podcast app allows it. I know Pocket Cast now allows you to leave starred reviews. It helps us out also. We save them up and eventually read them out when we get a few of them all at once, if we can find them. It's kind of hard to track all the podcast apps. Or just reach out and let us know you left one somewhere. We'll look it up.
I mean, it doesn't pertain to this podcast, but I'm slowly but surely going through one of the books that you let me borrow for.
Is it the Doctor Who one or the Labyrinth?
It's Labyrinth. I'm going through it and I'm taking notes.
Okay.
So when we get to that one, I'll be the one that, I guess, says more.
Yeah. During this down period, while I'm reading, catching up on a bunch of things, I can study up on like all the TTRPGs I've got. Some of them I have realized I have forgotten some of the stuff. I'm just going to catch up on a bunch, and it'll make my life so much easier after the first.
And do you know how much easier it is for you than it is for me?
Yeah.
Just so you know, because all I have to do for notes is write down, refer to page da-da-da-da for da-da-da-da, page da-da-da-da.
I can't read out loud very well. Like, I stutter and I mispronounce words I normally never would. So actually, that's very difficult for me. That's why I say when we first started this, I cannot take notes and I cannot read a script if that's what you want me to do. It will not happen. Yeah, which is why now when I do that, I'll let you take the books and look at them, and I'll just kind of read off of screenshots, things that I know I can remember from just reading through it, which is why I'm using this time to catch up on a bunch of other ones. Anyway, thank you for listening to us rant. Thank you for listening. I've been Ramey.
And I'm Beth.
And this has been HH&H. Bye-bye.